Welcome to Understand Nostradamus. You're going to see a lot of content in the near future credited to Nostradamus about this war in Israel, and I just wanted to cut through the chatter and let you know what is actually there. And you ask yourself, is this situation going to be in the Quatrains? Well, it is a holy war in the Mediterranean. You bet it's going to be in the Quatrains. And so let's begin at the beginning, and that would be Quatrain 532. Here it is. Where all is good, the sun beneficial, and the moon is abundant. Its ruin approaches. From the sky it advances to change your fortune, in the same state as the seventh rock. Okay, where is the seventh rock? And where all is good? Where is it all good? Where the sun is beneficial. And the moon, here he uses Luna for the moon, and consistently that has meant Islam. When he actually means the moon, he'll usually use a mythological reference like Phoebe or Selene. But here it says Luna. This would mean that Islam is abundant. So where is it all good and the sunshine beneficial and Islam is abundant? And it says that place. Its ruin approaches. From the sky it advances to change your fortune, in the same state as the seventh rock. Now in the preface, it says you have to identify the event and then apply the quatrain. And that is how prophecy works. There is a point to that. It's so you'll be able to figure out the main prophecy of the book. So when analyzing what would be the seventh rock, Nostradamus would be using a mythological reference. Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and biblical prophecy from the same era, but also Judaic mythology. In Judaic mythology, on the first day of creation, God created 7 earths, corresponding to the 7 heavens. And there are 7 hells, so keep that in mind. The lowest earth, the 7th, is called Erez. So, we're talking about the same state as Erez. Erez is a kibbutz in southwestern Israel, which sits just about a half mile or 700 meters north of the Gaza Strip. It is the namesake of the nearby Erez Crossing. Erez Yisrael means the land of Israel. It's a biblical name for the territory roughly corresponding to the area encompassed by the southern Levant. Related biblical, religious, and historical English terms include the land of Canaan, the Promised Land, the Holy Land, and Palestine. This territory is mentioned in biblical passages, specifically in Genesis 15, Exodus 23, Deuteronomy 34, and Ezekiel 47. The definition of Erez Yisrael in the dictionary is the Holy Land, Israel. It's only from the Second Temple period onward that Erez Yisrael became the current appellation of the Promised Land. It was the official Hebrew title of the area governed by the British Mandate after World War I until 1948. And is there a quatrain about that? You bet there is, and it's 397. Well, let's just take a break and bring that in. And here's a quatrain for all the people that believe Nostradamus quatrains can be used to fit anything. You go ahead with this one. This is Quatrain 397, and it is about the British Mandate and the beginning of Israel. New law for the inhabitants of a newly established land, towards Syria, Judea, and Palestine. The great barbarian empire to collapse before the end of the moon's determined cycle. And that would be 1927. The British Mandate started after the collapse of the barbarian empire, the Ottoman Empire, the end of World War I. It started to take shape in the early 20s, but by 1927, much local government had been formed. There was even the Palestine pound, newly established as currency. So everything looked good by 1927. This quatrain is solid, and I will go over it in much more detail because it ties in with a much more complicated quatrain about Louis Pasteur, Alexander Fleming, and Nostradamus rosehip lozenges making penicillin. But back to the attack on Erez Yisrael. The site of this particular kibbutz, Erez, which was established in 1949, the site of which goes back thousands of years, and is now in an area with about 125,000 people living in the same way. It's called the Kibbutzim. They call themselves kibbutzniks, and they produce about 40% of the agriculture that comes out of Israel, proving in that area that for them the sun is very beneficial. The kibbutzim go back to the time of founding Israel, when small groups of people set up communities based on the idea of communal living. So for these 125,000 people who live across approximately 250 kibbutzim in Israel, according to the Jewish Agency for Israel, they live there because they see it as a symbol of safety and the good life. So this is the place where all is good and the sun is beneficial. These residents are really viewed as left-leaning. Many disapprove of the current ultra-nationalist Israeli government's policies towards Gaza and the West Bank. Many of the residents who live there believe in peace, coexistence, and mutual respect, and had friends in Gaza. As I mentioned, the Erez Kibbutz is the namesake of the nearby Erez Crossing. The Erez Crossing was the looming symbol of Israel's security infrastructure at the far north of the Gaza Strip. It was the only place where people can walk from Israel to Gaza. Normal people that are trying to get out of Gaza and into Israel, or vice versa. This is the only place. There's an exit in the south, but it only goes to Egypt, and you need a passport to get out. So this is the place where people can walk in and out. This is the big place. It's a maze of rooms populated with cameras and high-tech scanners, double tiger trap doors, all overseen by Israeli officials who deliver commands by loudspeaker. It's also a surveillance and communications hub set into a high concrete wall that guards that part of Gaza. Gunmen from the Palestinian group Hamas, which governs Gaza, attacked the Erez Crossing on October 7th during a dawn raid on the facility. It began at daybreak with a detonation from what appeared to be an anti-tank guided missile. And then that crossing was stormed by militia. It started with explosive charges on the wall, and then they brought bulldozers. At one point, ripping a 70-meter or 230-foot hole in the wall, and many holes elsewhere in the wall. This was following a missile attack that Hamas says included 5,000 missiles. In addition, advancing from the sky were paragliders that came armed to attack and kill civilians. That's the it when Nostradamus says, from the sky, it advances to change your fortune. It also, ironically, is the same with the Erez Crossing, beginning with the detonation of a missile. So again, the fourth line is in the same state as the seventh rock. That would be the Jewish state of Israel, because the seventh rock is Erez. And this is what is meant by its ruin approaches. Only Nostradamus couldn't give the day because Hamas would have just picked another day. This is what you must realize. They would have picked a different plan, a different way. So it's impossible for Nostradamus to actually give the moment and time in the prediction because Hamas reads Nostradamus as well as ISIS and Hezbollah. So you can't just give certain details. Sad but true. And that is all explained in the preface. And that's why, for the most part, there are never quatrains that have years on them. There are some, and they did come true, but there are no quatrains that said, in the year 2023, this is going to happen. In the year 2024, that's going to happen. So you've got to avoid all that disinformation. There's going to be a lot of it about this war, just like the Ukraine war. But I'll go through some more of the quatrains. Please do everything you can, like, subscribe, and follow to help these messages reach other people. And thanks for listening.